All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 49 to 63. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us together for this Bible study. Even through the technical difficulties, we're still going to get through this Bible study, and we still need to get into more of what God is talking to the children of Israel about. More of that harsh, the way this harsh way that God is coming towards the children of Israel with good reason, of course. So let's go ahead and get started. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen. All right. So last time what we had gotten into, at least I got the Bible app available on the other freaking phone. So last time what we had gotten into, we had really just continued on with God explaining about how the children of Israel have done so wrong. But we got into a couple details that need to be pointed out again. And those details that need to be pointed out, first and foremost, are that they're sitting here basically giving their worship of other idols like a prostitute, giving it up to everybody. But not only that, that they go into it because of their lovers, they go into it killing their children through fire, multiple things. And then he goes to point them out that God is going to judge them like a woman who cheated on her husband. Now, before I continue on, Charles, that was your homework. So where does it show what would have happened if a woman cheated on her husband in the Old Testament law? Don't forget to unmute.
Thank you for saying that. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
Leviticus, I can't laugh too hard right now. Leviticus chapter 20, she needs to be put to death.
Yes. A woman who cheats on her husband, but it wasn't just a woman who cheats on her husband, was it?
The both. It's the man cheats on the wife, the woman cheats on the husband. They need to be put to
Exactly.
death.
The ones that committed adultery, both the man and the woman, would both be put to death. And that's the comparison of what God was giving of how they were to be treated or how he was going to treat them. And then he pointed out about how they're basically just like the surrounding people. They sit here and look at them like they're better than them, like they're not as sinful as the others. Meanwhile, they're doing even worse than what they're doing. So the people that are not followers of God are less extreme in their abominations than even the children of God themselves. And he went into that comparison in a depth of it and how they're going to be destroyed and how they're going to be in fire and sword is going to come against them. And so God pointed out at the end of it, where we got to in verse 48, he brought up about Sodom and Gomorrah. And he brought up how even in Sodom, as we know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah as a whole, just the outlandish abominations, even they were not as bad as what the children of Israel was doing. So today we're going to continue from that in verse 49. So I'll go ahead and switch it to our first section so that Charles can read.
So that Matt
And
can
go
read.
ahead when you're ready. I mean, so that I can read. Sorry.
You're good.
So that I can read. Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49 to 53. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her, and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away, and I saw good. Neither has Samaria committed half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thine abominations more than they, and hast justified thy sisters in all thine abominations which thou hast done. Thou also, which hast judged thy sisters, bear thine own shame for thy sins that thou hast committed, more abominable than they. They are more righteous than thou. Yea, be thou confounded also, and bear thy shame, in that thou hast justified thy sisters. When I shall bring again their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, and the captivity of Samaria and her daughters, then will I bring again the captivity of thy captives in the midst of them. So we got a couple things in here. First and foremost, it's interesting how it phrases it. It doesn't say in verse 49, it doesn't say homosexuality at all. Do we see that at all, Charles?
No.
But then let's look at it. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness. And then going into 50, and they were haughty, which means to be prideful and arrogant, and committed abominations before me. So is the haughtiness, is the pride, is the gluttony, is any of that the abominations, Thomas?
No.
Exactly. So this isn't listing every sin that Sodom and Gomorrah did. This is listing the mindsets and the sinful natures that led to the abominations that they did. The pride, the fullness of bread. So, Charles, what would fullness of bread represent?
Metaphorically, it just sounds like always full, like over full to the point, too
Yeah.
much.
So you have so much in abundance that you're overstuffed. In other words, you have more than you need. And notice how it points out in there that even in their abundance of idleness, they did not strengthen the hands of the poor. So they did not take care of them at all. Hold on one second. And the bottom line of it is,
I don't usually do this, but
I expected that to take a little longer. Sorry about that. So
No,
with
yeah,
that,
they're fast.
yeah, yeah,
I'd have read first if I knew they were that fast. They weren't that fast with me.
yeah. That was. I thought it would have been like 40 minutes. We would have been done with Bible study. So, but back to it. Neither has Samaria committed half thy sins. So we're going in this list. So they didn't take care of the poor and needy. Now, that brings in a very important question. Does this mean in requirements, Thomas, that we are supposed to, in requirements, give money to the poor? Just in general.
Um, that's a good question. I'm kind of like a yes and no. It depends on the situation to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do. You don't give them the money directly. You get them what they need.
Good. But we actually do have an actual answer here that's more specific. What you said was a good thought, but we have the answer in it. Charles?
I was about to say no when you brought up. You said generally speaking, right?
Generally speaking.
No.
Exactly. And what in this verse gives us that understanding?
Um, Let me go. Neither did she strengthen the hand. of the poor and the needy. It have to explain that. I got to figure out a way to explain that part. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the
Mm-hmm.
needy. That was the part, but that's what I have to think about how to like explain that to answer that question. That's the part I'm thinking
All right.
about that helps solidify my answer.
Then Thomas, I'll give you one more chance because that was correct. That is the section.
Uh, she not she's not giving the needy what they need. She's not strengthening their hand.
Huh? You
I
just
was
reread
taking
it. You
it
didn't
as
explain nothing.
right. Just yeah. Then I'm right there with y'all.
All right. So it didn't say that they didn't take care of the needy, did it, Charles?
No,
It said they didn't strengthen the hand of the needy. Now, what's the difference between strengthening the hand of the needy versus being help, giving to the needy? Thomas.
Now this kind of falls into effect of what you do. Instead of just giving them money, you actually give them what they need: clothing, food, etc.
No.
Oh,
Charles?
are you talking to in the same
You
subject
about to say
of?
Revelation?
Uh, Thank you. That's not myself. Are you talking in the same? I forgot the word I used with the R, but in the same subject of giving cash to a homeless versus teaching that person how to make their own money so they can help themselves in that
There
aspect?
you go. If you're giving a homeless clothes, you're still just giving them something, Thomas. The hand, you look at that. What does the hand do? The hand works. So, what is that saying there? They didn't strengthen the poor to be able to take care of themselves. So, your point, Thomas, may have been right, which I think it was what your point was when you brought about the clothes, but you way you explained it was still just giving them something instead of getting them to be able to help themselves. So, no, in the Bible, we do not have a commandment or a requirement just to give. As a matter of fact, all throughout, we see laziness as something to be condemnable, even if not to damnation. So, here, part of the sin that Sodom created was that they didn't help the poor and needy to be able to help themselves, to be able to take care of themselves. And then it goes in to say about them being prideful and committed abominations before God. Therefore, I took them away as I saw good. So I got rid of them because I saw it was the right thing to do. Neither have Samaria committed half of thy sins. That's crazy. They didn't even do half of the things that you do or you did. But you have multiplied your abominations to the point that you have justified thy sisters in all thy abominations. Now, I could just say what that means, but I think you guys can figure this out. Charles, what does the ending of verse 51 mean? And then Thomas, if not.
Let me unmute. Half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thine abominations more than they, and have justified thy sisters in all thine abomination which thou hast done. Let me make sure I have to re-explain justified. Primitive root, to be, causatively make right, in a moral sense or forensic sense, cleanse, clear. Let me reread that one more time. Neither has Samaria committed half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied thine abominations more than they, and has justified thy sisters in all thine abominations which thou hast done. Gotta be. um, you're right. I should know this. I'm still thinking about it.
All right, Thomas? Gotta unmute.
Oh, my bad. So give me 1 second. I'm in the Strong's looking up one word, and then I'll give you your answer.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you 15 seconds.
All right, so 51. Pretty much saying how they continue to do more and more in regards to their abominations, and also they're sitting here trying to defend why their
Nope.
sisters are doing the same thing. Okay.
Nope. It didn't say depend. It said justified. Is that the same
Is it
thing?
Yeah, if you're justifying for somebody, you're practically defending them, despite if they're right or wrong.
Nope.
You're trying to justify, hey, they did this because of this, Why would they not,
They're trying to justify, not justified. But that's also in our day and language.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
We've never seen that be the meaning of justified in the Bible.
Then I gotta look up justified.
Mm-hmm. All right, Charles, you've been given enough time. Do you have an answer or no?
I don't want to throw out a guess. But it's talking about the children of Israel multiplied the abominations. So you enormous amount of more abominations than Samaria, and has justified thy sisters, as in you made it right.
Yep.
That's
So
the part I have to like explain. So, because that's the part where I'm getting like I'm tripping up on myself about. I have to re-explain that. So not only do I show you that I understand it, but I can re-explain it for a 5-year-old to understand that, and I'm tripping up myself up on that.
And if I tell you guys the answer, it's going to be so simple. You guys are going to kick yourselves in the butt. All right, I'll give it 10 seconds. If either of you can come up with the answer in 10 seconds, good. Otherwise, I'll give you the answer. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. You have done so much evil, so far beyond what Sodom and Gomorrah did, and double as much as what Samaria did, and kept on multiplying to the point that it's like you made what they did like it wasn't actually evil. You did so much evil that you have turned their evil into being such a small matter comparatively that it's as if they didn't do evil at all.
You turn what they did into a small matter compared to how far you've gone.
Exactly. Thereby making what they did justified in comparison. So, in other words, I'll give an example to explain it as well. Charles, you stole money from your mom's wallet in this example.
Mm-hmm.
But Chad went around town stabbing puppies and killed 15 of them. Now, what you did was wrong. But what Chad did in this example is so much worse that it's as if you didn't even do anything wrong in comparison.
Exactly.
Thomas, somebody tries to start a fight with you at your job, and they're always getting on your case. They're always calling you out for the smallest things, and they're not even a manager, but they keep on snitching. And though what they say is accurate sometimes, but they lie other times, messing with your job and your ability to pay for things. So in return, you cut their daughter's neck and killed his family. In that example, yes, what they were doing to you was wrong, especially lying about it, putting it at risk. But you went so far overboard in that example that it's as if what they did wasn't wrong at all because of how far you went. So those comparisons help you guys? You guys understand it now?
Didn't even
It
need
does. Not only that, I have to bring up why I got it wrong. So I messed up, and I don't know why I do this, but you've corrected me on this a million times over. I threw out thy sister Sodom, thy sister Samaria. I literally took them out of the. When you asked that question, I just threw them out in the trash can. I don't know why I keep doing that.
You need to practice. The first thing you do is reread every single time. I don't care if you know the answer or not. You need to change your reaction. It's not going to happen unless you consciously do different. So from now on, every single time you answer, if you start to answer too fast, I'm going to start, as much as I can remember to, I'm going to start calling you out, because you need to build a habit of rereading and thinking it through first. And you're not going to do a different habit if you don't consciously make a different choice. Your choices of your behaviors become your habits. Your habits become your reactions. Your reactions become the things you can't control. All right?
Got it.
All right. So that's what it is. You've done so much worse than them that it's as if you've justified, as if you've made all their evil no longer evil because you were so much worse. And then he goes to point out in 52, but you're sitting here, you judged your sisters. You judged Sodom and Gomorrah. You judged Samaria. But you need to bear your own shame for your sins that you have committed. They are worse than theirs. The abominations you did are worse. They are more righteous than you. Matter of fact, you need to be confounded. You need to be confused. You need to like switch up your mindset and bear your own shame. In that thou hast justified thy sisters. So this is not even just saying a comparison. This is saying, from God's perspective, I can't even judge Samaria and Sodom and Gomorrah for what they did alone, because you've done so much worse. I did that judgment and destroyed them. You have made it as if it was almost undeserving. And then it goes to point out in 53. So when I bring again their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, the captivity of Samaria and her daughters, then will I bring again the captivity of thy captives in the midst of them. Okay, so what would be the captivity? And here's your hint. You have to keep in mind the context of these places, of Sodom and of Samaria. If you don't take into the current context we have for them, you will get the wrong answer. So we'll start with Thomas. We'll go to Charles. What captivity is God talking about here?
Well, we know they were destroyed because of their disbelief, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, in reference to, and we're speaking on the daughters. Sorry, could you ask that question one more time?
Yes. So, what is the captivity that God is talking about in 53? And your hint is you have to take into account the current context of who these sisters are, who Sodom is, who Samaria is currently in the timeline of the Bible. That's your hint, and that's the question. What is the captivity?
Despite them being destroyed, I do not know.
All right. Charles?
I'm rereading because that's a great question.
See, this time I could give that hint and it won't give the answer away. But when I give you the answer, you are going to feel dumb because you should have been able to figure it out. Charles, do you have an answer?
I do not.
All right. Hell, whether lake of fire, Yeana, or the punishment prior, purgatory, as people like to call it. Either side, that's the captivity. And how do we know this? Well, Thomas brought it up. Sodom is already destroyed. Thomas, are there any daughters of Sodom left? Is there any new generations coming out of Sodom?
No.
Exactly. So the captivity can't be on earth right now or anytime on earth because they're already gone. Well, if it's already gone and there can't be no more, then it would have to be the afterlife. And what is the captivities of the afterlife, Charles?
So, so the captivities of the afterlife would be, well, if you did wrong, hell, lake of fire, and all of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so the way you labeled it, I was like the captivity of the afterlife, and I'm like, I thought it was just lake of fire and hell.
Well, no, remember that we talked about this before in worship service. Do we automatically go to the lake of fire? Is it the first thing that
No,
happens when we die?
no, that's not the first one. You still got to wait for the.
Yeah, we talked about it. Jesus said that it wasn't the time of judgment day and he was still waiting. We had
Mhm.
multiple things showing a time of pause. And even Jesus, when he passed on, he said to the thief, "You will be with me today in paradise." But we know that the journey to heaven is not till after judgment day. So, where are they? They're either in the paradise side of Hades, or that Gulf, or they're on the torment side, Tartarus. And then
I never.
after, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just never thought of that as captivity. Honest, it never like crossed my mind to think of it as captivity.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is a captive? They're a prisoner.
Prisoner, yeah, and yeah, that's what, yeah,
And in
in that
prisons, what
sense, yeah,
happens? Punishments.
punishment, suffering, yeah,
So there you go. Does that make sense, everybody?
it does now.
Yep.
All right. Now, any comments or questions as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Then, Thomas, go ahead and read when you're ready.
We're reading Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 54 through 58. Give it a couple seconds. That thou mayest bear their own shame, and mayest be confounded in all that thou hast done, and that thou art a comfort unto them. When thy sisters, Sodom and daughters, shall return to their former estate, and Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former estate, then thou and thy daughters shall return to your former estate. For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by the mouth in the day of the pride of thy pride, before thy wickedness was discovered, as at the time of thy reproach of the daughters of Syria, and all that are around about her, the daughters of the Philistines, which despise thee round about. Thou hast borne thy lewdness and thine abominations, said the Lord. A whole lot of daughters. All right. 54. We'll read that one more time. And then thou mayest bear thine own shame, and mayest be confounded in all that thou hast done. and that thou art a comfort unto them. Let me just make sure look up confounded real quick. I wish I could disable the volume thing, man. That's terrible.
What?
When you press the volume button, it changes the page. Sometimes I accidentally press it.
You can.
Oh,
You got
okay.
to
I'll
do
look
that in
into it.
settings.
All right. The tone on install. Okay. That thou mayest bear thine own shame and mayest be exalted in all that thou hast done, and that thou art a comfort unto them. So it's a continuation of 53. Let me just read that one more time, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I shall bring again their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, and the captivity of Samaria and her daughters. Then I will bring again the captivity of thy captives in the midst of them, that thou mayest bear thine own shame, and mayest be confounded in all that thou hast done, that thou art a comfort unto them. So
So the question comes in. Actually, I'll wait for you to do your explanation before I do the question.
so pretty much you're saying like that they gonna go through it again in the midst of all this captivity taking place in Sodom and Samaria.
What?
And it says that. Go ahead.
I
You
said
said
what?
something. So you said that captivity was hell and afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So pretty much saying that they're gonna have the same results happen to them regarding to
Nope.
hell. No,
What is a state? What is an estate?
a place.
Not just a place.
Hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I at? Where do you see a state at?
55.
Oh, my bad. I'm in Strong's right now.
Mm-hmm.
Priority in time also used adverbially before former state. So like before or in a time frame.
What?
It says adverbially. I can't even say that word. It's tongue twister.
And
Priority,
verbally?
yeah, adverbially. I cannot say that.
It's okay.
Former old estate. I'm looking at the Strongs and I'm seeing like time references before, old, in time.
All right, I got to go off the screen so I can give it to you because of this stupid system.
Says situation before beginnings.
You've got to be reading that wrong. All right. Estate. Antiquity. Priority in time. Also adverbially before of for antiquity. Do you know what antiquity is?
Nah,
Or do you know what priority is?
prioritizing something. Yeah.
Yeah. So your estate is basically the better thing that you had before. The word antiquity, look that up online.
All right, 1 second. The ancient past, especially the period before the Middle Ages.
What? You didn't look up the word antiquity in definition.
That's what it says on Google Map. I got the same
Did you?
thing.
Is it what the AI says or what the dictionary says?
The dictionary.
It says dictionary. I could click on another thing, but yeah, that's the first thing that pops up for dictionary.
What does the number 2 say?
Great age.
Great age. So it's not talking about just the past. We're talking about a great past. The definition of the word priority. Well, priority is something of more importance compared to something of less, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about, if I were to simplify it in a phrase that you've all probably heard before, former glory. That's pretty much what it's saying. So the antiquity here, or the estate, the former glory. So
But
in
the reason
other
why I
words,
asked you, go ahead.
what were you gonna say?
I said the reason why I asked you, like, why were you in 55 when I was in 54? Unless 55 is going to help me with 54.
Yes, it is.
Okay, just making sure.
This is the reason why you can't just do the one verse. You have to look at what's connected. That you would bear your own shame and you would be confounded. Now you looked up confounded, right?
Let me go back to it. Right here. Taunt, insult, ashamed.
Yeah. That you would be ashamed. Confounded also means to be confused, as in like being tricked. If you confounded a person, you shamed them for in a way that makes them like not understanding what happened. And then you go into 55. When thy sister Sodom and her daughters shall return to their former estate, or in other words, their former glory, what they used to have, how would that correlate to the children of Israel being shamed, being a comfort to them? Well, we used to be on top of the world and we died, and all our people got punishment because of your God. So now we get to see you getting that same punishment. So, Charles, I know you personally would not be like this, but when people see their enemies suffer, what is the normal reaction to have?
Happy. They want to celebrate.
They
Life
want
is
to
good now.
celebrate. Yes. So when Sodom and Samaria see children of Israel in the very same punishment that they've been in for however many hundreds of years up until that point, and they see them there, how would they feel, Thomas?
The same, excited.
Exactly. So then how would the children of Israel be confounded or be a comfort unto them? For that same exact reason. So you can't really explain 54 to its fullest without understanding what 55 is saying. You see what I'm saying, Thomas?
Yeah, thanks for breaking it down.
Mm-hmm. Charles, did you get that too?
I'm glad you explained that because that, oh man, that I want to laugh, but it hit me harder than it hit me in the worst way possible. But go ahead.
What you mean?
When you brought up the enemy thing, I just thought about it. I was like, man, I got people like that now.
Yeah.
If they hear things about me, they would celebrate. He in jail? Pfft, man, it's about time he got caught.
Right.
Celebrate good
Yeah.
times. He did. Oh, celebrate good times. Oh, dang.
Yep. Yep.
They're
We
in
all have them.
they're in hell talking about what? Children of Israel? Celebrate good. What you burning? You're burning. You're celebrating in burn. Okay, Thomas. Let me say this before Matt continues. There are people that hate me so much. They're not in hell. They're still around. They're living and everything. They're doing bad in life. But as soon as if they were to hear anything bad about me, nothing matters. Homelessness does not matter.
Yep.
Being behind on child support does not matter. Losing your job doesn't matter. Charles either failed or he lost or something really bad happened. Nothing matters now. And you're in so much turmoil, but Charles had to lose in something. And everything is good. That's
Yep.
crazy when you think about that.
It goes back to what the Bible says. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything we're dealing with today, they've already been dealing with. Nothing changes. The physical aspects will change. Let me say that. You may not have harlots or prostitutes in the middle of the street everywhere you go, but you got pornography. There is no difference in the type of sin that pornography is from getting with a harlot. None at all. Then we look at all the different things in the video games. Say you're playing Call of Duty. You're supposed to be on the same side with your friend, but you have such an anger with your friend that you keep forcing him to make mistakes and forcing him to die, to kick him out. That is no different than trying to force the downfall of your friend back in the time of Israel. The spirit of the sin is still the same sin. So nothing has really changed when you look at it from a spiritual perspective. The only things that have changed are physical, but they're not that different. Now, back to it. Thomas, go ahead and continue.
So you said for antiquity, we're sticking with great age?
Yep.
Okay. So let me read 55 one
Now,
more
how do we
time.
know it's not just a pastime?
Sorry, what'd you say?
How do we know it's not just the past in the context? Because there is something in the context to show it can't be that one.
Yeah, because it says they're going to go back to it. You can't go back in the past.
No.
And in 55, it says they should return, sorry, not go back, but return to their former estate.
So what about that means it can't be the past, as in like their former past, just in general?
You can't return to the past unless you like Back to the Future status.
Not only that, but they're already dead and gone. They can't come back to life. So what are they returning to if it's a literal past, if it's a literal building? Now, an estate normally in today's day and age is a different word. Estate today is talking about the mansion, the land that you own. That's what an estate is today. But if you look at it from that perspective of the biblical standing, it can't just be any past because that wouldn't make sense. How would Sodom go back to their past? Well, they're already dead. You can't come back to life if you're sinful. So it has to mean their former glory or their great age, their great past.
Okay. to former glory or great age. Let me read 55 real quick.
Mhm.
When thy sisters, Sodom and her daughters, shall return to their former estate, and Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former estate, then thou and thy daughters shall return to your former estates. Um, so pretty much saying they're hold on. Could you state what you said before one more time?
Yep. Basically, Sodom and Gomorrah, Samaria, all these wicked places that are in hell right now, not in the lake of fire, but in hell. They had a former glory. They used to be on top, doing whatever they want. They got taken out by the God of the children of Israel. These people. So what they're
Yeah.
returning to is a sort of mental state of their former glory. They're returning to their former glory, so to speak. And
So
how
we're
are they
talking on
returning? Go
the
ahead.
mental aspect of it, not physically, but the mental aspect. Okay.
Well, they can't do it physically, can they?
Yeah,
You can't.
exactly. They're dead. Right. So mentally, we have Sodom and Samaria, and also does Jerusalem, all returning to their mental state of the glory they once had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, the word
Sorry,
then, is that then as in time, or is that then as comparison?
then as in comparison from
Nope.
now. Hold
Then,
on 1 second.
okay.
So returns. Uh, what is time?
Yeah. Then
Really?
as in comparing is THAN. Then as in time is THEN.
Oh, duh. Duh, should have known. I thought it was like some Bible trickery,
No, no,
but it
no.
was just a straight literal A and E.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, with all that in mind, then thou and thy daughter shall return to your former estate. So, you're going to return to your former glory. Well, when was Israel in any semblance of their own glory?
Um, are we speaking in relations to their babe days?
Their what?
Sorry, their young days, their youth days, and
No, they
or
didn't have glory in their young days.
oh no, it was whenever a king wasn't in power, he's actually doing according to God.
There you go.
My bad
When they
about
were
that.
actually following is when they were glorified.
Yeah,
So, what type of mentality did they have when they were glorified?
they were uplifted, upbeat, doing right.
Nope.
No.
Nope. That's not the mentality they had when they became glorified. That's the
Oh, they
effect
got
of the.
yeah. Sorry about that to cut you off, but they
You're good.
it always got to their head. They got prideful and egotistic.
No, 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 no. What was their mentality when they became glorified, not after?
Mm.
Charles?
I was thinking of that unstoppable mindset.
When have we ever seen the children of Israel think they were unstoppable, except for a couple people? You guys aren't thinking about the question.
You said the mindset, right?
I said, what was the mindset of them when they became glorified? That was not the mindset the children of Israel had anytime they ever became glorified. Every single time they were lifted up, there was something specific about their mindset. Do either of you know?
Oh,
Still
we're
thinking
doing
of
right
what?
by God.
That's the effect, that's the action taken. The mindset is humbled, humbleness.
Mm.
Every time that the children of Israel were doing better, yeah, they were doing right by God, but why were they doing right by God? Because they were humble. So when was Sodom and Gomorrah doing well? When they were just going all in, having a good old time, entertaining, just doing whatever they want, all before the children of Israel came. What about the ones in Samaria? Same thing, living how they want, following what they want, until the children of Israel came in. But when were the children of Israel glorified? When were they in a form of glory? When they were humble. So then you could put that in there. So when thy sisters Sodom and Gomorrah, well, I keep on saying Gomorrah, when thy sisters Sodom and her daughters shall return to their former glory, as they were before you came, and Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former glory, as they were before you came, then you and your daughters shall return to your former glory, as you were when you were humble. Now, how or what would that mean separate? It doesn't mean much of anything separate. But when you look at it connecting to the context of 54 giving comfort to them, and what we talked about how those connect, then how or what would that mean for 55? Thomas?
Kind of like how Charles was saying how his enemies low key kind of cheer when he was down. That's giving them in relation to the 54. I feel like that's giving them that pumping what's it called? What's the word for it? Pumping up themselves to start feeling better about themselves and getting back to
Confidence.
the confident. There we go.
Pride.
That was awesome. Yeah, you got it.
Well, that's only part of it. What about the children of Israel part?
Um, still having some remnants remaining after everything that took place. They still got an opportunity to get back to where they once were mentally.
Thomas, you didn't think about the context at all when you said that. Where are the children of Israel that it's talking about here? You read it in 53.
Right. They
We
were.
discussed it.
We were talking about captivity and being captives.
Which was where? Captives where? Thomas, where were they captives?
I'm looking right now.
You didn't pay attention to the context. We said where they're captives. It's not a location.
I'll go
Charles,
ahead
where are
then.
they captives?
Hell.
Hell.
Slipped my
Remember,
mind.
Sodom and Gomorrah is already destroyed. They're gone. These people of Samaria are already gone. So you didn't keep the context. Got to work on that. But, so these children of Israel listed in 55. So where are they? Thomas?
Hell as well.
Hell as well. So, what is it actually saying? Yeah, the first part you got right. Sodom, Samaria, seeing the children of Israel in hell, they got brought back to their pride. They got brought back to the mentality of being above. They thought it was special. And how would that
Anybody else
bring
get kicked?
You said what?
What's going on? Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
I got kicked for some reason. I don't know why.
that's weird.
I said hell as well.
Hell as well. And so the children of Israel are the joy for Sodom and for Samaria at this point because they brought them back to their pride. But how does that bring the children of Israel back to their former glory? Thomas?
Can I read?
No, because that's not something in the statement. That's something we explained. Thomas, you need to start writing things down. You need a piece of paper. The phone's not
I got a
working.
piece of paper right here,
All
but I
right.
only been writing it down for like the words that I needed the definition for, so I can just jump back to it. But I can write more.
Well, remember, I said that there's 4 questions you need to have written down answered for the
Yeah.
context, not just the definitions. What are those questions? Do you remember?
Hold on.
Not look it up. Do you remember?
No.
Who are the people involved? What is the overall situation? What is the immediate situation? And is there some type of reasoning given? Or, in other words, why? 4 W's of a main study. There are exceptions where the where and when matter, but not entirely. Who are the people involved? What is the overall situation? What is the immediate detailed situation? Why are things happening? Is there a reason given? Here we have the people of Sodom, who are already dead in hell, the people of Samaria, who are already dead in hell, and the children of Israel, who are already dead in hell. Now, this is future tense, but he's explaining the scenario to explain a point, that this is how it's going to be. So the overall situation is God is explaining to the children of Israel how their punishment is going to be going while they're in hell and how it's going to impact others. We got that from 54 and 53. That's the overall. The what is the immediate details? Sodom is happy and is brought back to their former glory by seeing the children of Israel in hell. Samaria is brought back to their former mentality, former glory, by seeing the children of hell. And then, because of this, the children of Israel are brought back to their former glory, their mentality. And what are those mentalities? As we talked about, Sodom, it was pride. Samaria, it was pride in themselves. Children of Israel was humbleness. So that's the second what. Now the why. Is there any why given? No. So we have to think about it. Why would the children being in hell and seeing Sodom excited and Samaria excited about seeing them there, why would that make them humbled?
Because they see their enemies there.
You all right?
Huh?
You all right?
You said we don't have an answer, so I was giving a possibility, a hypothetical.
No, it sounded like you you had a cough or something happened to your throat.
Nah, man, just one of those days for me, bro. Trying to
All
lock
right.
in, dog.
All right. Charles?
Emotionally, it'll humble me too if people were cheering on while I'm burning in hell. Oh, you brought us up to glory because of what you did. You did this, you did that, you did worse than us. It'll humble a lot of us, emotionally speaking.
Exactly. Exactly. Not only that, though, but it would also bring a regret. If you were sitting here, as God brought up, judging your enemies, if you were sitting here judging your enemies, as they were talking about, and then you go to hell yourself, and they're laughing about you being there, you never expected to be there. So you're not only being humbled because of the fact you're there and your enemies are laughing over your destruction, which is 100% your fault, but also it's enemies that you were judged. You were judging them. You were talking about how bad they were. And then to top it off, that would also create a regret because you didn't need to be there. But now it's too late. So all 3 of those parts would create that humbleness again. But now it's too late. Make sense, Thomas?
Yeah, so for Sodom and Samaria, it's because see Jerusalem there, children of Israel, but on their side, on
children of Israel's side, it's because they're humble because those are the people they were saying, "Oh, you're gonna go to hell," and all this and stuff like that. So they're being humbled because of all everything that took place, and them ended up in hell themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just making sure I got it.
Like these are the people that you talked about after the fact that were evil and all that, but yet you ended up in the same exact spot that they did. Meaning you're no better than them, though you try to talk. It's just like in movies where you have the popular girls in chick flicks, and the popular girls get humbled by somebody. There's an immense regret and embarrassment because this whole time they've been treating the other or talking down about them, and now they're on the same exact level. Make sense?
Yep.
All
Thanks
right.
for. I was not getting it. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I'm here for.
I find it funny how me and Charles we have our days. We just switch back and forth, back and forth.
Yep. And I'm just glad God has given me a patience to understand that we have to go through this. Because I used to get really mad at situations like this. I'm not angry at all right now. And I got to thank you guys for that and thank God for that. Because it was dealing with you guys that made me realize I can't hold people to any standard of where I think they are, not where they think they are, where I think they should be. Charles, you are one of the most smartest people I know. Street smarts and ability of true smarts, of what I consider true smarts. Thomas, you have a high intelligence as much as I've seen. If I dealt with you guys by the level you should be capable of, based on your intelligence level, we should never be having conversations. You guys should be able to explain it the same way I do. But there's something I had to learn. People can be highly intelligent in one area and not as smart in another. And it can go as far for some people, not you guys, but it can go as far for some people where they can be absolute indoctrinated idiots in some areas, though they're super intelligent in others. So you can't deal with people on the level they should be in your mind. You have to deal with them on the level of where they actually are in each individual subject. And I had to learn that from you guys. And I'm grateful to it. Not only has it made me a better teacher, but it's made me better prepared for the day when I do have children, when that time comes. Because if it's my kids, you guys know how my kids are going to be. They're going to be super intelligent with how I raise kids, with how I deal with people. So just imagine if my son or daughter is on a math question that I know dang well they should understand. I've had this happen with kids before. Well, I got mad. Stop guessing. Look at the question. You know this. Why are you acting stupid? I've been that guy before. I had to learn, and thanks to you guys, I did learn to take people for where they are, not where they should be. So, in this situation, I'm not bothered. We got to take time because we got to make sure you actually understand. And yes, you both have your days.
And
Now,
this is where we celebrate, separate from different the opposite of what Sodom and Samaria is doing. You know, this is how we celebrate the good things when we get better.
I mean, think about it. I've raised my, now you guys have never heard me yell, but I have raised my voice at you. I have gotten attitudes with you. So you guys
I
already
heard
know.
you.
Nah, you've never heard me
Yeah,
yell.
I think so.
You've heard me raise my voice, but you've never heard you haven't even heard me pissed. You've heard me frustrated. So imagine what you think is yelling, what you think is mad. That's me when I'm frustrated, not when I'm pissed, not when I'm actually yelling. That's how far it's gone from where I used to be to where I was with you guys to where I am now. But let's get back to it. Now for 56 through 58.
My bad. Totally forgot I was out of it today, guys. Forgive me. Man. Over here thinking somebody else about to read. All right.
You forgot you were the one reading.
For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by the mouth in the days of the bride.
Of the pride?
Of thy bride.
Yeah.
Your bride. So in the days of their like good times in a sense, Sodom wasn't mentioned.
Hmm?
So I'm trying to understand here. It's a continuation. Let me read 57 real quick. Before thy
Mhm.
wickedness was discovered, as at the time of thy reproach of the daughters of Syria, and all that are round about here, the daughters of the Philistines, which despise thee round about. But I don't know what's going on. I'm reading, but I'm not understanding, dude. Like nothing's registering. This is terrible.
That's fine. So let me give Charles a chance then. Charles, what does 56 and 57 or 56 through 8 mean?
I was about to say 56 to 57 sounds like the thing you corrected me on before with the list. For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride. Telling that to the children of Israel. For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth before thy wickedness was discovered. Also, I always add the also. So they're not the children of Israel not mentioning Sodom before their wickedness was discovered. At the time of their reproach of the daughters of Syria, in the day of their pride, and all that are round about them, and the daughters of the Philistines, which the Philistines hate them, despise them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wrong only because you didn't actually explain anything. All you did was reread it.
Oh, sorry. So no, that's okay. So what 56 and 57 is saying is in these particular times I just named, the children of Israel didn't mention Sodom. I almost said Sodom and Gomorrah. They didn't mention them by their mouths in those time
Now, why
periods.
would that matter not to mention them? Why would that matter in this context?
It sounds well, we already talked about what we talked about before, but oh wait, let me read. For thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by the mouth in the
By
day
thy.
of thy pride. Of thy mouth in the day of thy pride. So bringing up before, as in before you brought up Sodom, before you brought them up, before you judged them, before this, before that, you didn't bring them up before. You didn't do this. You didn't do that.
Nope. A good try.
And oh, okay, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. So, for thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride. Remember, it didn't say before the day of thy pride, it said in the day of thy pride. Now, why would it matter that they don't mention Sodom in the day of their pride? Well, if you mention Sodom, this is just one possibility that lines up in context. If you mention Sodom, what would you also have to mention about Sodom, Charles?
You would have to mention how they failed, how God
Yeah,
came after and God destroyed them. Well, can I
exactly.
add this? I'm sorry to cut you
Good.
off. When you're doing that, don't you start to lose that humbleness when you get into that?
Not really. It depends. I mean,
Uh,
if you talk about your enemies after they've already had their downfall, why would you bring up your enemies after they're already dead and gone?
Only to teach.
Unless it's only to teach. That's it. Because if your enemies are still alive and they're in their downfall, you might bring them up to talk smack about them, but you're not going to bring up your enemies tens, if not hundreds of years after they're already dead and gone, unless it's to teach.
To teach you.
And what would you be teaching? To step back. Stop trying to be Icarus flying too close to the sun. You're setting up to fall. So, the reason that this is happening, as he's pointing out, is because when they had their pride, they didn't even take a step back to correct themselves or to get corrected by one of them. And then it goes into 57. Before thy wickedness was discovered. Now, the word discovered doesn't mean discovered like we think of it today. I discovered something new. Discovered in the Bible means more like shown or proven. So before thy wickedness was proven or shown, as at the time of thy reproach of the daughters of Syria. So before your wickedness was shown, just like the time when you were trying to correct or rebuke the daughters of Syria and all that are round about her, the daughters of the Philistines, which despise you all around, you had given birth to your lewdness and your abominations. So before your wickedness was shown, just like at the time for the correction of the daughters of Syria. So just like when they were getting corrected, before it was actually known that they were doing this, and also just like all the enemies that are around her, and the daughters of the Philistines, and the ones that are around you, you were doing your lewdness, your wickedness, and your abominations. So you didn't take the time to correct. And even though it wasn't well known, even though it wasn't shown and proven, you were already doing your wickedness and your abominations, even before it was called out. So, what that's actually saying when you think about it is the reason this is happening is because I didn't even call you out at the very beginning when you did commit the sins, when you did do the abominations. I gave you time to try to figure it out yourself that you are in the wrong. That's what God is actually saying here. Does that make sense, Thomas and Charles? How I got that?
I was gonna say, could you further elaborate on
Yes.
56, 57, 58?
So we talked about 56. Why would you bring up Sodom and Gomorrah, who's long dead and gone, in the middle of your day of pride? Self-correction. It's the only reason. Self-correction. There'd be no need to bring them up, especially with other kingdoms that are currently evil that you could be better than. But here's the thing. So you didn't self-correct. And then in 57, before your wickedness was known, just like when the wickedness of the children of Syria was going to be corrected, and they had all these nations around her, the daughters of the Philistines, which despise thee round about. So you're surrounded by your enemies, just like the daughters of Syria were surrounded by their enemies right when they were sinning before they got corrected, before they got taken out. You see how that goes?
Oh, I was already unmuted. Yeah. I see. I see how you're getting it.
Yeah, so you're surrounded just like they were surrounded. Before your wickedness is known and shown, just like before their wickedness was known and shown, you're already prepped for destruction. But even still with that, even before it's known and shown, you were already doing your wickedness. You were already doing your abominations. So if you're already doing your abominations and the punishment is already ready to punish, but I still haven't done it yet, it's all set up, but it hasn't happened yet, and you had the opportunity to correct yourself and chose not to, then all that together would mean I could have destroyed you earlier, and I've set it up to where you will be destroyed if you had continued, but I waited to give you a chance to change, and you didn't change. All right, Thomas and Charles, you guys get how it got there now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm-
And it brought up something else I thought about too. When we had went back and read all the stuff the children of Israel doing, I have to remind myself that they had they had everything they needed. If they were ever
Yeah.
slipping, they had all the tools they needed.
Remember that one of the last kings that we read about in freaking in Chronicles and in Second Chronicles, Second Kings, the one of the last kings that they had found the found the law, the Torah, in the temple, not in some crazy place, in the temple. So if they wanted to, they could have just took in a small search and found it and got right with God. And then consider this. It wasn't even like it was 20 years or 40 years. This is hundreds of years that they've been doing this. So he gave them a whole bunch of chances, whole bunch of time before it finally got to this point. All right. Now, does anybody have any comments or questions as we go to the final section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, then Charles, go ahead when you're ready.
So for the last one, I'll read Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 59 to 63. I'm gonna give it a couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 59. For thus saith the Lord God, I will even deal with thee as thou hast done, which has despised the oath and breaking the covenant. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. Then thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed. When thou shalt receive thy sisters, thine elder and thy younger, and I will give thee unto thee for daughters, but not by thy covenant. And I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, that thou mayest remember and be confounded, and never open thy mouth any more because of thy shame. When I am pacified, that's pacified, right?
Yep.
When I am pacified toward thee for all that thou hast done, saith the Lord. Okay, so when we're ending the chapter, for thus saith the Lord God. So first off, in 59, he's talking about he's going to deal with the children of Israel as they had done. How in the same way they had basically just despised him and went against that breaking the covenant. The covenant that they've already made a long time ago. We've read that a while ago.
Yep.
About the children of Israel following in God's will and God's way and all the other stuff. Blah, 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 blah. But he did bring up in verse 60 that he's still going to remember the covenant that he made with them that we talked about a long time ago. And I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. Oh, okay, yeah. So not only is he going to remember the covenant he made with them a while ago, he's going to establish an everlasting covenant with them.
Mm-hmm.
As in
So is that the same covenant?
new covenant. I don't know why I didn't bring. I don't know why I'm stuck on that. It's a new covenant. He's gonna establish.
Now go ahead and continue, because that's an important
Okay.
detail for
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that
So
this really is an interesting part, but you got to be able to catch it from that.
interested in the sense that he's
No, no,
doing a
no.
new covenant.
Keep
Oh,
explaining
keep going.
the. Yeah,
Okay.
use. I'm saying my point is that is your hint for the rest of it.
Oh, okay. Um, then verse 61. Then thou shalt remember. Oh, let me reread first. Then thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed when thou receive thy sisters, thine elder, and thy younger. And they as in children of Israel will remember or they'll remember their ways. They're going to be ashamed when they start to get their sisters, their elders, and the younger children, the kids, stuff like that. And I will give them unto thee for daughters, but not by thy covenant. And he's gonna the people that I just brought up, giving them unto the children of Israel for daughters. But when he does this, he's not doing it by a covenant. He's just doing it. He's not doing it by an oath. Okay, so he's
Keep
just gonna
going.
do it.
Keep going.
Verse 62. And I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt. Oh, okay. He's gonna establish the new covenant, and them knowing that he's the one true God. That thou mayest remember and be confounded. Now we already talked about confounded as being to be ashamed. So they'll remember, they'll be ashamed, and they'll never open their mouth because of their shame. When I am pacified toward thee for all that thou hast done, saith the Lord God. When
Now
I
I'm
am
going to tell you something before
pacified,
you finish reading that, so you can say this. I mean, so it helps you. This is one last hint about it. Keep in mind the people included. All right. Now go ahead and what you need to explain is not a surface level. This is a deeper level meaning. Let's see if you can catch it.
you mean with the part of when I am pacified toward thee for all that thou
Nope,
hast
the whole
done? Or you
section.
mean the whole section?
Yep, the whole section is a deeper meaning, but I'm not going to tell you what it is or any other hints. I want to see if you can figure it out.
So when he brings up, I gotta go back to 60, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. That in my head, the first thing I thought was foreshadowing.
Of
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I keep freezing up. Jesus. His son, Jesus. The foreshadow of Jesus and the covenant of Jesus. And Jesus, his sacrifice, died and rising on the third day. Why do I keep freezing?
nope, but very close. But you went too specific. I mean, too generic. No, too specific. That's the right one.
I went too specific.
Yep. Thomas?
Um, it sounds like, look, y'all going to hell, and you're.
Nope.
Can I even like finish?
Nope. You already made it too far gone. Remember, we already talked about the ones that are in hell, but now he's talking to them about establishing a new covenant.
Right, but he was also saying giving in the elders and the youngers and their sisters. And if that's the case, I took it as they all going to hell.
Well, does God make covenants to put people in hell?
Well, he does cut off lineages and stuff like that.
But that's not what his covenants are made for. That's the consequences if you don't abide by the covenant, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said already it was messed up off of that.
Okay.
Because the moment you brought in hell, it was already, there was no way your answer was going to be correct. All right. Charles, read the first one again out loud.
Verse 59.
Yep.
For thus saith the Lord God, I will even deal with thee as thou hast done, which has despised the oath in breaking the covenant.
So, the covenant that we made, since you despised it, I'm breaking that covenant. In other words, is there a covenant anymore between me and you, Charles?
No.
Exactly. There is no more covenant between me and you. And then what does he say next?
Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth. Before I continue, just because I'll remember it doesn't mean we still have that covenant. That covenant's still broken. It's still
Exactly.
done.
Exactly.
Oh, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. That okay. He's breaking the covenant with the children of Israel. Though he brought up he'll remember it, doesn't mean he's gonna keep it. He already broke that one. And the everlasting covenant would be the foreshadowing of his son and the sacrifice and cover it
His
all. And
son,
rather,
the covenant. Remember, his son is the way the covenant is established. But that's not what the covenant is. The covenant is the agreement. Jesus dying is not the agreement. Jesus suffering and dying is how the agreement is established. It's the blood of the testator. So what is, well, actually, no, we can answer it from here. Go to the next part.
after 60,
Yep, the next, like, go comma by comma.
comma by comma. Already did, and I will establish, already did that.
Mm-hmm.
Then thou shalt remember thy ways.
So I'm going to break off the covenant and I'm going to establish a new covenant that's an everlasting covenant. Now, notice this time when we read about the covenant, he didn't say for your generations.
No.
Did he?
Well,
Exactly.
he didn't, but did he? He didn't need to because he brought up the word everlasting, the way everlasting is used in the Bible, right?
Well, no, he does, because if it's for your generations, it's only to your people. It could be a covenant that lasts forever, but if it doesn't say to your generations, then it's not just to your people, is it?
No, it's towards that. And I was trying to bring that up early towards multitudes of people because he didn't specify the who.
But here's the thing. We have more details of this. Go to the next portion.
After the thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed.
So you're going to remember your ways and be ashamed of them. Now we're talking about the children of Israel. What is the
Mhm.
ways of the children of Israel that they would be ashamed of?
This going away from God, the abominations, idols, all that
Yes.
stuff we've been talking about.
Yes. Exactly. Now for the next portion.
When thou shalt receive thy sisters.
So you're going to be ashamed after remembering your ways when you receive your sisters. Now, who were his sisters? Who were their sisters?
I almost forgot about Sodom and Samaria again.
Yeah. But Sodom and Samaria, these people in hell, they're already gone. That's
They're
why the
already
part
dead.
of Thomas is there. So is that literal there then?
No, it can't be literal because we just brought them up being dead, so then metaphorical.
Exactly. So metaphorically, who would Sodom and Samaria represent them?
Uh,
Thomas?
I'm trying to understand y'all. I ain't
Okay.
got the answers.
Well, think about the question I asked. If Sodom and Gomorrah are gone, it can't be literal that they're receiving Sodom and I mean Sodom and Samaria. It can't be literal that they're receiving them, right? So if
Yeah.
it's not literal, then metaphorically, who would they be receiving if not Sodom? What is Sodom compared to the children of Israel?
An enemy.
Not just that. What else?
My computing power is not up to par right now.
All right. Charles? What is Sodom compared to the children of Israel?
Other than the enemy part that Thomas brought up, what else were they? They failed God. Great question. What else are they other than?
If I give it to you, you're both going to feel dumb. I'll give about 15 seconds. All right. The people of the world,
Would have never
the
got that.
worldly people. Sodom, they were the people partying up. Samaria, they were the people following false gods. Individually compared to Israel, yeah, they were enemies, but also they were the people of the world, the ones that were not God's chosen people. And how do we know this? Read the second to last and the last portion of that verse, Charles, out loud.
Thine elder and thy younger, and I will give them unto thee for daughters.
And I will give them unto thee for daughters. Now, what did we say daughters? What did we show daughters represented?
Uh, Forget.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I said, how did I forget? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Thomas, what did we say that, or what did we prove that daughters represents in these sections? You know, the sisters represented the people of the world. What did
Yeah,
the
the people
daughters
to come.
represent?
The people to come after.
The generations that come after. So if they're going to be daughters unto you, then what would they be unto you? The generations that come after you that are part of you.
My next generation.
So we're talking about the people of the world becoming the next generations of the children of Israel. Now, what does that sound like, Charles?
Culmination of what we got today.
Exactly. The Gentiles converting to Christianity, becoming grafted into the children of Israel. This is literally the covenant of the New Testament, where everybody has an opportunity, if they so believe, to follow God. And all they need to do is accept Christ. This is a word for word depiction of what actually happens in the covenant of the New Testament. This also goes to debunk, again, the Hebrew Israelites. Now, Thomas, I think you know enough of them to be able to catch this, even though your brain's not computing. How does this debunk the ideas of the Hebrew Israelites, of that religion?
The Bible is speaking only about the Israelites, the children of Israel, when in all actuality it's speaking about everybody. And there's a verse to back it, but I can't remember right now.
Okay, you are so out of it today, you didn't even hear what I just said about this verse. What does this verse section mean? Charles, how does this verse section debunk the idea from the Hebrew Israelites, from that religion?
What are their other ones? I can't think of all the stuff they got going on with the Hebrew Israelites right now.
Thomas brought up the right thing, but he didn't answer the question, which was, how does this debunk it?
Wait. You're talking about how they could only be saved? Not everybody can be saved? You mean in that?
Yes, that's what Thomas just
Oh,
brought
okay.
up. But that's not the
Okay, and
question.
that's
The
what,
question is, how does this debunk that?
because in this section that we're reading, it wasn't specific to, this specific or part of the everlasting covenant.
No.
It didn't.
It's because in this section, it literally is showing that people that are not of the children of Israel are going to be counted as the next generations of the children of Israel.
Back to this verse 61 that you just brought up.
Yes.
The sisters, the elders, and the youngers being part of that next generation, mingling with the children of Israel, and then spreading. Why didn't I think of that? I just thought of that just now.
You didn't think of it. I told it to you.
Wait, what?
You said, why did I just think of that just now? You didn't think of
No,
it.
I said, why
you.
didn't? Why didn't I think of that?
Oh, okay. That's not what it sounded. I think you said, why
My bad.
did I?
Then no, I said, why didn't I think? Because you
don't
just said it.
Take credit for what I just told you.
No, you did just say that, and I'm telling myself, why didn't I think of that?
You ain't about to steal my credit.
No, I'm not gonna steal the credit. No. Matt get the credit. Why didn't I think of that? That's how I was like, oh.
And here's how you know that that's also what that's talking about, and it's not being literal. Can your sisters be your daughters?
No.
Yeah, technically, through marriage. But can your elders be your daughters? No, because the elders are men.
Right.
So when you look at all the people included here, it's talking about the people of the world. It's talking about the children of Israel. All of them. The people that used to follow, the people that didn't follow, and the people that were not Jewish at all are going to become the daughters of your next generation. In other words, the new people coming up that are following God. So literally, it's an inclusion of everybody being grafted in. That's literally what's happening in 61. That's why it debunks it. Because according to their ideology, the only ones that go to heaven are the people who are of the lineage of the children of Israel. But here, it literally, through a metaphor, is saying that everybody can go. That it's not just the children of Israel, it's everybody who can, if they are willing to submit. Now go ahead and continue to the next one, Charles.
And I will establish my covenant with thee.
And I will establish my covenant with thee. So we've broken off the old covenant. I remember the old covenant when you were youth, when you actually wanted to follow, but we've broken that off now at this point. And there will be a time where I'm going to establish a new covenant, an everlasting covenant, and I'm going to establish it with you. Keep going to the next portion.
And thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
And you will know that I am the Lord. So, does this include people who are Jewish but do not follow God in this covenant?
So no, because they don't follow God.
Exactly. And how do we know that? Because of the first portion. It will not be according to your covenant. Well, what was the covenant that they had? That it was specifically with the Jewish people and God. That's part of it. So the ones that are not following, they're not part of the covenant. Go to the next portion.
That thou mayest remember.
So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to set that covenant up with you for the purpose that you're going to remember. And what are they going to remember, Charles?
Oh, they're gonna they're gonna remember all the all this other stuff we've been talking about, all the bad, the abominations, idols, sins, turning away from God.
Yeah. So when I establish this covenant with you, and when you finally realize that I am God, you're gonna remember all the evil you did. You're gonna remember all the wicked ways of your people. And every single thing that they did. All the abominations. Abominations, not abominations. So,
Did I say abominations on the phone?
No, I accidentally did.
Oh,
That's why I had to correct myself. Said not of no, it's abominations, not abominations. Next part.
and be confounded.
So you're gonna remember that, and you're gonna be ashamed. Now, why would you be ashamed? Because you realize you had it golden. You had the world at your fingertips. And rather than do what's right, your people did this. I'm gonna give you an example of something that has some truth but can be taken too far by people. Should white people feel shame for what other white people did in slavery in America? Should
No.
they personally feel shame? No. But should a person that comes from a family that literally owned slaves, should they feel shame for the fact that their family owned slaves? Charles?
No, I don't. You just because you come, you're not part of that. You're a
Actually,
further
I
generation
disagree.
from it.
I didn't say you should feel you're in the wrong, but you should definitely feel shame. Wouldn't you be ashamed of your family? Isn't that feeling shame?
Yeah, I thought about it from the. I put myself in the shoes. Yeah, I would feel a certain kind of way if my family were doing certain
Yeah.
things.
It's different if not no one in your family, no one connected to you had anything to do with it. But if your family directly did, yeah, you'd feel some shame. You'd be ashamed of your family and the fact that they did that. So here, when he says that, he's talking about the children of Israel. Well, think about it. Would the children of Israel, should they feel no shame about what their ancestors did?
They're
Now, if
gonna
we're
feel some
talking,
shame.
they're going to feel some shame. Matter of fact, I feel a little bit of shame, and I don't even know if I'm 100% actually am that. I know my family says we are. I know we're not 99.97% Eastern European Jew, so we are really freaking Jewish. But I feel ashamed to look at that. When I read of everything that the children of Israel did and being associated with that, I feel ashamed to be connected to that. So the bottom line of it is, yeah, you're going to feel shame for that. Next part.
And let me make sure I'm unmuted. And
Oh,
never
wait.
open.
My bad. I forgot to say one other part of it. The part that's connected, and never open thy mouth anymore because of thy shame.
I didn't read that
Well,
part yet.
oh, my bad.
And never open thy mouth anymore because of thy shame.
So you're going to be ashamed and never open your mouth anymore for being ashamed. What have we been talking about the children of Israel been opening their mouth to say?
Judging Sodom. If I'm not, yeah. We just been
Yeah.
reading judging Sodom, judging
In
Samaria.
other words, calling out other people. So what he's saying is at this time, because of the shame that they'll feel, they will be in so bad a position, they will not be able to call out nobody about what they're doing when they remember everything their ancestors did, everything their people did. So in other words, you can't look at yourself as better than nobody because of that. When that happens, when this new covenant takes place. And then when we look at it from this perspective, and we look at the children of Israel that are part of the church, for those that are, look at Paul. Does he look down on Gentiles, Charles?
With
As much as we've
Paul,
read about him.
I don't remember. With
Have,
Paul,
have we read anything where he talks bad about him?
doesn't he talk about? Well, no, that was something different. Yeah, no, I don't remember actually. with Paul
Okay.
specifically.
Thomas?
No.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, in multiple places, Paul says there is no difference between Jew or Greek, Jew or Gentile. He is constantly pointing out that the comparison is only to say there is no difference. That's it. So they can't talk anymore in comparison to it. So when the Hebrew Israelites sit here and say only the Hebrews, only the ones of the children of Israel are going to be the ones that are saved, not only is it not that only the Hebrew Israelites are going to be saved, but also the people of the Hebrew Israelites, if they would actually read the Bible for themselves, they would find out that they're not even servants of God. They're not even in agreement with his new covenant, because his new covenant shows both that everyone will be able to be part of it, and also that you will not see any difference. There will be no ability to speak against anybody who is not one of you, of the children of Israel, because of the shame of your ancestors, because of the shame of what the children of Israel have done. Make sense? Thomas and Charles?
Working it down like that, yeah. And I actually, while you were talking, I've been writing it down on my notes too.
Yeah. So whenever somebody ever comes up to you, or if you ever have a conversation and somebody brings up something about saying that, oh, well, only it's only for the children of Israel, you could bring them right here where God literally says that the new covenant is not going to be only for the children of Israel, but that there will be people of the world that are grafted in. Now, this is not the most direct one. This is not the simplest. There are definitely better verses to use, but this is a good one you can use if they're willing to listen. So, with that in mind, does anybody have any comments or questions before we pray it out? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, then Charles, go ahead and pray us out.
All right. Everybody go ahead and bow your heads. Father, thank you for giving us another wonderful study with notes, extra notes that we got. I pray that we continue to have Bible studies like this where we can have notes for us to keep in mind, reference for us to go back to when this is uploaded on YouTube, and a way to help teach others when they think about when they ever bring up anything about Hebrew Israelites, when they ever think about the Muslim faith. We have our notes to back up and to prove that you're the one true God and that the Christian faith is the one true faith. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right. And today's Bible listening is, drum
Drum
roll,
roll,
please.
please.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
I owe you a soda.
Jinx, y'all both owe me a soda.
You got an
Mark
RC Cola
9 to
coming
Luke
up.
1. There you go. I want the Hawaiian punch, damn it. No, I'm just no,
You said
Mark
Mark
9 to Luke 1.
Luke 1.
Got you.
So Matt wants Hawaiian punch, and Thomas, you didn't say nothing, so you get an RC Cola.
I'm still waiting on my 7 down, okay?
You said what?
I'm still waiting on my 7 down from Timu, remember?
7 down
7
from
down.
T-Boo?
Bro, it was a joke. Remember we had
Oh,
like
7 up, 7 down.
yeah, you said we can get it on
Stupid.
Timu.
Stupid.
Well, that's a 4-month back order because of the tariffs, Thomas. You're just gonna have to wait that one out.
Hey, I'm sorry. I have been shopping
That's
on
fair.
Temu recently, and for the clothes and stuff that I was buying before, I have not seen any raises in the prices, even with tariffs. It's the same thing it was from the beginning.
We're gonna end the Bible study on this. So I've been
Yes.
talking to people in my phone book. they are mad because their hair products aren't coming in. And I'm like, oh, okay, like the conditioner stuff. No, Charlie, my wigs ain't in. My weaves are not in. What's
The
with these
wig.
I said, I thought I had to think about it. And I'm like, oh, they go to LA. They go to the LA ports. They go to the Long Beach ports. And then it hit me. Tariffs.
Yeah.
Got people telling me, Charlie, where my wigs at? Where my weaves at? You tell me. I don't know. I got an afro on my head. I could just cut this off and grow another one. I don't know.
It's okay, Charles. I got bees on my head, but don't call me a bee.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it ain't affecting you, man, but it's affecting. There's some women on my phone book. They mad because they ain't got their wigs in. They ain't got their weeds in. Oh well. Better get an afro. That's all I got to say.
Exactly. And you know what else? This also. Well, let me close it out. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you on a regular. So.
All right, Thomas,
so,
get some rest, man.
yeah, definitely, Thomas.
Yeah, have a good night.
No.